Okay, so everybody knows how important it is to move, and walking is one of the most readily accessible, easy way to get exercise and to move around. And if you've been in therapy with Parkinson's disease symptoms, I'm sure you've heard the terms reciprocal arm swing, reciprocal arm swing, or big steps, or swing those arms, or make it big, or all of those terms in therapy. It's really important to use those large amplitude movements and to use your core when you're walking instead of walking in that rigid manner. So when people walk, usually this is what happens, and you'll swing your arms and your legs reciprocally, opposite leg and opposite arm. That's really important to keep a rhythm and to maintain that weight shift from side to side. And it also can help with decreasing your freezing gait and decreasing bradykinesia and speeding up your movements. There's what we call pole walking has become very popular with people with Parkinson's, as well as other people trying to stay in shape. You may see hikers walking on the trails with hiking poles. They're to help kind of move them along. Sometimes they'll help with balance, okay? But they're not putting a lot of weight on them. It's just a cue to kind of help a cadence or a rhythm. You can use poles that are handmade. I made these out of PVC pipe. It's 4 feet long, so I took a 6-foot PVC pipe. I think it's, what is it, 3/4 inch wide or diameter PVC. I cut it to 4 feet, and I put little rubber tips that you buy at Home Depot on them for chairs or whatever. They slid right on the ends, and these are perfect. They cost me about $4 each to make. These are hiking poles. You can buy them at EMS or REI. I got these at Job Lot during the snowshoe season. So they range in price. They're a little more expensive than these, but they're quite fashionable. So either way, you could use hiking poles that are meant for walking and hiking. These have a pointy tip. They're good for walking on the grass or dirt. They also sell ones with rubber tips that are removable that you could use working on surfaces so that they won't make as much noise and they won't slip. But again, you don't put weight on these. These are simply to help you maintain that rhythm, that reciprocal walking pattern, and a more normal gait. So you hold them lightly in your hands, and reciprocal means opposite foot in hand. So if you're stepping off with your right foot, your left hand goes forward, and the opposite. Sometimes I find that the slower you move, the harder it is to do reciprocal gait because you're thinking too much. So let's start, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to have my back to you, and I'm going to start with my right foot, left hand, and then I just keep moving opposite. All right, and then I'm going to come back. Okay, so try and plant the pole and your foot at the same time. I'm going to do that again. We're going to go reciprocal. Try and keep your head up when you walk. It's really important to keep looking straight ahead and not at the ground. I know we're always afraid of tripping and falling on something on the ground, but if you can look ahead, most likely what's in front of you on the ground is going to be the same thing that's there when you get there. Okay? So again, reciprocal walking with hiking poles. I use a large space. This is my backyard. You can do it from a timer. You can time yourself for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or you could do laps and count how many laps you do in order to see how much you progress and how much faster you can walk or bigger steps you can take. You can count how many laps you do in a specific amount of time. So count how many laps you do in 10 minutes, and then a couple weeks later count the same time and how many laps maybe you've gotten a little faster. You can count steps. So count how many steps you do forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then maybe if you got to 11, the next time try to do 10 because your steps are bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So going that way, away from you, I did 11 steps. I made my steps bigger, so coming back it took me only 9 steps. So your goal is to take fewer steps to go the same distance. Remember, it's all large amplitude, big steps, reciprocal movement patterns. So I'm not going to go through making you watch me for 10 minutes walking. You get the gist. Opposite leg in hand. If you don't feel like your balance is good enough to walk without your walker, you could just stand there, still with the poles, take a step and bring it back, and a step and back. So you're not walking, you're just stepping forward and back with opposite hand, opposite foot. And you can practice this way. So all of those get up and walk and move when it's a nice day out. Use those poles to get those steps bigger and to get them faster. The other thing you can do with poles is a variety of arm movements and balance kind of challenges when you're walking. So if you feel comfortable walking without an assistive device, you can use this for a power up. So you kind of come forward and power up, forward and power up. We can combine that with steps. So I'm going to go down and reach this forward, and when I come and power up, I can take a step forward, bring them back together, not completely together, railroad tracks. We're going to come down and step it forward. So this is just another way to use your arms and get a little bit more challenging workout with that power up and step. So you're combining your power up with a step. You could do that all the way across the yard if you wanted to. You can power up and step, 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 and turn around. And we're going to step forward, and this is just another way to get out there and walk and get some exercise. Let's pretend this is a kayak paddle. We talk a lot about trunk and trunk twisting or trunk rotation. When you do that, you naturally weight shift, right? Pretend this is a kayak paddle and you're paddling your kayak and you're going to dip and go side to side. You could do this in standing. You don't even have to move your feet. You can just weight shift back and forth. You're kayaking. Or you could move your feet, weight shift, lift that other foot up as you kayak, or you can combine it with walking and you can kayak forward. So I'll show you how that's done. Ha! I had a hard time doing that. So you have to do what's natural. I had a hard time sequencing that step, so let me show it to you again. Okay, so you're going to go down on the side that you're taking a step with. So that's what I mean. If you think too much about the actual movement you're doing, it kind of messes you up. And that's what happens sometimes with Parkinson's, is that your brain is really trying to control those automatic movements that used to be automatic. So sometimes if you use a tool, it helps you make those things more automatic and more natural. So again, pole walking, reciprocal gait. You can do it in standing, or you can do it in walking, and I'm going to show you that. Get those poles out and do some pole walking. And I will see you again tomorrow. We're going to talk about transitions, safe turning patterns, because a lot of times a lot of falls, loss of balance happens when you're turning and you're changing directions when you're walking. So we're going to practice some transitions or in the proper way to turn using a safe technique.